Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, Handful of Daisies DIY. If you're new here, I'm Elaine. Thanks so much for stopping by. In this week's video, we're going to be working on a furniture piece. I haven't worked on furniture in a while. It's been so cold in my workshop. I haven't been able to paint, so it's still a little chilly out, but we're going to see how it goes today. So if you're ready, let's get started. Here's a look at the piece we're going to be working on today. Now I have already cleaned it up really well. So I'm going to go ahead and take the hardware off the front. And then I'm going to put that to the side for now. Now this piece is not real wood. It does have veneer on the top. So I'm going to try sanding that down as lightly as possible just to get that top coating off of it. You have to be really careful with the veneer to make sure you don't go down too deep. So I'm just using at first a 120 grit sandpaper, and I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it. Once I get everything off, I'll go back with a 220 grit just to smooth everything out. Now you can see I do have my shop vac attached to my sander just to keep a lot of the dust out of my workshop. And the 120 grit sandpaper is doing really well taking the finish off. The finish was dried out a lot, so it didn't take a whole lot to get it off. I'm going to stain the top of this piece. If I'm at all able to get a wood look on the top of my pieces, I really like to do that just to keep a little of the wood showing. Since this piece is not real wood, the door front is actually feels like plastic. So I'm going to paint the rest of it. I'm going to wipe down all the dust and then tape off the top to make sure I don't get any paint on what I just sanded. I'm just putting the tape on, and then I'm going to take my little knife and just clean the edges of the tape up. Once I get it all taped up, I'm gonna go ahead and put this piece, it's not a huge piece, so I'm gonna put it up on my table, which I try to do with as many of them as I can, just because it's easier than getting down on the floor painting them. I'm gonna be using Dixie Belle in French linen to do the base of this cabinet. And I'm gonna water it down a little bit, because I've had this paint for a little while and it is a little thick, so I'm going to thin it out a little bit. I'm going to do 2 coats on this cabinet. So the first coat I want to get on just a fairly thin coat and let that dry. Since this is not wood, I was a little concerned about the paint sticking and staying on well. So I've found that when that's the case, it's better to put a thin coat on first, let that dry, and then go back with a second and even a third coat if you need to. But letting them dry completely in between coats usually helps with that. This piece does have a lot of little grooves to get down in. It's a lot easier if you spray pieces like this. I do have a paint sprayer, but I haven't been able to replace my air compressor yet, so I'm just going to use my brush to get down in those little areas. The air compressor has been on my list for a little while. I just haven't had an opportunity to go pick one up. But since it's warming up outside and I have a lot of furniture pieces to do, I'll probably have to take care of that pretty soon. The paint seems to be sticking pretty well. Again, it wasn't wood, so I didn't scuff sand it like I normally would shinier items. Sometimes you just have to try it out to see if it's going to work or not. This piece will go in my booth by the season, so I do want to make sure that the paint stays on really well. So to do that, I'll just make sure that I top coat it really well and seal that in. So once I got the body done, I did open the door and just get the edges of the door. I'm not painting the inside of this piece. I'm just going to keep it, of course it's not wood, but looks like wood inside. Here's a look at how that turned out. I did put 2 coats on and I'll let those 2 coats dry. Now I'm going to work on the top. I am going to be doing the top in the Waverly Antiquing Wax. Now this bottle of antiquing wax, there was just a little bit left in the bottom, so I watered it down and then I added a little bit of the Waverly ink black paint, because the antiquing wax tends to be a little red tone. So I wanted to tone that down a little bit. So I added that black in with it as well. And I like that tone a lot better. I tend to use this instead of stain when I can, because there's no odor to it and it dries a lot faster. Now this top veneer was really dried out. I should have wet it down first before I started with the antiquing wax. I normally do that. So you can see it's drying out really fast. It's just soaking in that antiquing wax. Here's a look at how the top turned out. Now I had so many ideas of what I wanted to do with this. I thought about doing some dark wax, some transfers, but then I decided just to use my sandpaper and distress it a little bit. Let me know in the comments below, what would you have done? Would you have added some dark wax or even white wax? Or maybe some transfers? I'd love to hear your feedback on what you would have done with this piece. I did feel like it had so much on that front door that I wasn't sure about the transfers. I was afraid that would add too much to it, especially with the large handle that I'm going to put back on the front. So once I finished that, I just wiped all the dust back really well. Here's a look at the distressing. I didn't really heavily distress it, just lightly. I'm going to use this Dixie Belle Orange Grove to freshen up the inside a little bit. That one shelf is wood, the rest is not, but it is an old piece, so I wanted to try to freshen it up a little bit. And this Orange Grove smells so good. I have been mostly using Dixie Belle products just because they're very easy for me to get, since they were selling them at By the Season where my booth is, but now they're selling country chic paint there, so I may try that out as well on some of my projects once I go through all of my Dixie Belle. Now I'm gonna seal this in with polyurethane because that's what I had on hand. I'm gonna give it several coats. Like I said, I want to make sure it's sealed in really well. Since I'm selling this piece, I don't want the paint to chip off. Voices like a mountainside, sing you are my only one. Oh my, oh my, oh my days. Life is wonderful. Life is wonderful. Never understood, but life can be this good. Now let that dry in between coats. And then I came back and I spray painted this handle with black spray paint, and I decided it was just too black. So I came back with my paintbrush and just dry brushed that French linen on it as well, just to tone down that black. And I thought about using some other kind of pull on this, but I just couldn't find anything else that really matched this piece. This cabinet was given to me by a friend, so I didn't have to pay anything for it. Those are always the best pieces. Here's a look at how it turned out. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Do you like it just the way it is? Again, would you have added some transfers or maybe some white or dark wax? Let me know in the comments below. Like I said, I appreciate everyone's comments. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button. That helps my channel grow. And if you're not already subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and join our DIY family. If you're already subscribed, thanks so much for being a part of our family, and I hope you're finding inspiration in the projects that we've done so far. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week for another DIY.